Welcome to the Roundtable, everybody, and welcome to all of you guys to the Roundtable. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited about today's discussion because we're going to be talking a lot about happiness and contentment and how do we pursue that and what is it, is it something we can even really achieve, or are we just grasping at air here? What's it all about? So I'm super excited to see where this conversation takes us today. So before we begin, I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves so you all know who it is that we're actually talking to here. So we'll finish with Allison. So we'll start over here with Kevin.
Okay, so my name is Kevin Carden. I am a certified life coach, and I specialize in helping people discover their soul's purpose and evolve in their soul so that they can live a life that they love living, simply put.
Awesome. And then to my left, this is Donna Dato.
Yes, I'm Donna Dato. The name of my company is Elevate Your Spark. Entrepreneurs hire me to get them to six figures and beyond in record time. I'm a certified top six coach. There are two of us in Colorado who exclusively coach entrepreneurs. And this is Suzu. She's a little rescue dog that I'm dog sitting.
Perfect. All right, and Dan Miners.
Yep, my name is Dan Miners. I'm a shamanic energy practitioner, and I also do fascial work. So with body work, soft tissue is one of the things that with energy, when it moves through the body, it can get stuck. So by finding that when manipulating soft tissue, specifically in joints and throughout the limbs, movement therapy becomes very therapeutic to move out any energy that's been stuck through trauma or emotions, and it's just a profound part of healing. And movement therapy is definitely going to be a next big coined term in the next few years.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah.
It works. It absolutely works. And Allison Gomer, my lovely wife, is joining us today as well.
Thank you. I am the owner of Heart Speak Therapy. I am a somatic healer and psychotherapist. So like Dan, I also work with the body, but I'm not actually touching my clients. They are becoming more aware of their physiological sensations, which help release trapped trauma, anxiety, and depression within the body, and they also become more present and more aware of their emotions.
Awesome. Well, the reason why I've asked you guys to come here with me today is because you all bring something a little bit different to the table, but you all are people who I view as being very self-reflective. You guys are all trying to make yourself better every day. And that's really what this conversation is about today, right? It's about people trying to make themselves better every day. And this is just one of many conversations of ways that we can improve our life and make it better. So, I hear a lot of people talk about, they say, I just want to be happy. And I've always found that really fascinating because to me, well, I'm not going to say my point of view, but I've just always found it really fascinating that people say happy versus content. And I see a big difference there. What do you guys see as the difference between happiness and contentment?
So for me, I see the terminology behind happiness being something that I'm pursuing continually. And contentment is something that I'm okay with where I am. Like I've kind of stopped. I'm in a state where maybe I've achieved a goal or I've achieved a certain level of success, and I'm content with where I am. With happiness, when I'm continuing to pursue, it's like becoming that better version of myself. And so, I've got to be careful though, because there's this idea of the arrival psychology, where once I've done this, once I've been able to achieve that, then I will be happy.
Yes.
And so in my journey, I've really been mindful of that, because when I've always wanted to find happiness or, I just want to be happy, that means that I will achieve and become to this arrival point where I've made it.
Yeah.
It's almost like I've achieved enlightenment and
Right.
I'm always going to be happy.
Right.
Although that's just it's the falsity of it, right? Because I could achieve something and I'll be happy for the moment, but there's going to be a point where, okay, I'm content with that, and I'll continue to need to grow and figure out, okay, what's that next level it's going to achieve that next level of happiness.
Yeah.
What's that going to be to make that up level a little bit more? So yeah.
I think all happy people are not content, but all content people are basically happy.
Interesting.
Happiness to me is an experiential experience. It's fleeting. I don't think we could. I just don't think emotionally we could stay in a maintain a state of happiness because it's an emotion up here.
Mm-hmm.
Contentment is ongoing, and it's something that people can actually achieve.
Right.
They can consciously achieve contentment through a number of steps. Basically, the first step, of course, is gratitude. I don't think any contentment can happen without gratitude and that daily focused attitude of gratitude.
Yeah, I think that's a great
routine.
point.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I've said the same thing. I mean, I think that's a fantastic point. So, so since happiness is fleeting and it kind of comes and goes with life experiences, how do people create more happiness, joy, contentment, whatever you want to call it in their life?
I would agree with Donna. Gratitude would be the base step, because the more gratitude that we have, then we can be more okay with the things that are not okay in our lives. And we can, if everything is just black, but we have one shining little something that we can see, that we can have gratitude for, the darkness begins to dissipate a little bit. And I believe that it's kind of like valleys and mountains. It's like this is the way that our life is, and
Yes.
that is contentment, because we can have both. And I was going to mention that I think that happiness is situational.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
this house, this house that we just moved into makes me really happy. I'm like excited. I have joy because I feel excited. I feel extremely grateful. But I haven't arrived. And this
Right.
house is probably also going to make me really angry at times.
Right. And once you arrive, then what?
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
oh, cool, I've
Yeah.
arrived. So
Well, I think
Go
our
bed?
forefathers.
I don't know. Sleep more.
I
Yeah.
think our forefathers had it right. They did not say the pursuit. They did not say happiness. They said the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
That I thought that was brilliant of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the simplest ways to be happy is just progress. It's having progress. And I mean, progress in gratitude, progress in just moving towards a goal, and always having a goal so that you're not just being, stuck somewhere, like you're not plateauing.
So like inner progress, like what is that?
Both inner and outward.
outer progress.
Yeah, but it
so
always
both.
starts within.
Yeah.
You can't have any outward progress, or at least any sustained outward progress, unless you have the progress within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then it's just going to be built on foundations of sand that is just shifting and changing.
Well, you mentioned
exciting.
goals. I totally agree with that whole goal thing. It's like, you set a goal and you achieve it, and you haven't arrived necessarily, but you've achieved that goal, and now it's time to set a new goal. So it's kind of that like endless journey of like moving forward. So if you don't set goals in your life, you guys are all coaches in one way, shape, or form. So if people are not setting goals for themselves, does that then lead to the opposite of happiness, misery, and depression and anguish and all that kind of stuff?
I think it can. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. I think what happens is people start filling their lives with other things that they think is going that's going to make them happy or content. And I'm going to use the example of the shopaholic who is not content and is not happy, but they love buying that thing because they get that instant gratification and happiness. So they fill up their lives with things, and they mistakenly think those things are bringing them happiness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point.
I think I'll launch a little bit off of what you were saying. There's also the idea of doing and being. And so I think so many of us get caught up in the checklists, the goals, and not that goals are bad, although a lot of those times those goals are external. And yeah, okay, I did this, I achieved that, I'm happy maybe for a moment. However, there's this new way that I've been building into my personal practice of beingness. And is this new way that's really difficult and challenging for me, where it's like choosing how to be like at all times. So choosing the attitude, choosing the beingness.
But like just being more present.
Well, being more present, it's also, if I'll go into meditation and visualization, right? So it's more about, yes, it would be nice to go on this vacation and go to this island. I just came back from Italy. I was on the island of Capri for a day, and that was spectacular.
I just came back from Italy.
Did you? That's amazing. I'm
Tuscany.
surprised I didn't.
Yeah,
okay.
no, we didn't
That was
cross
Amalfi
paths.
Coast. Yeah. But like, what an incredible place to be. And I really set an intention going out this time for a vacation, being in this beautiful country. Okay, I could go there and say, okay, I did it, and take some pictures, come back and share that moment. However, like going out, the tension of how am I going to be when I'm there? Like, how's it going to feel? Like feeling like the sunlight, feeling this enriched food, the culture, and like how do I want to like feel when I'm in the moment? And so I don't miss it, because going back to what you're saying, it's like being present, right? So the beingness is more about like just absorbing it all in, instead of just again checking the box and saying like, okay, I did it, what's next?
Right.
And then not really maybe ever being that fulfilled in that moment.
Yeah.
And setting an intention, it sounds like too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I see goals as and intentions as almost like someone who's gonna shoot an arrow. It's like being able to have a progression and being able to say I would like to be here, and then being able to be present and allowing for gratitude to come in, because when we're present we can allow for gratitude to come in, and that allows for us to move towards the goal or the intention. So it's like having, because oftentimes we shoot an arrow and then it lands over there, and okay, that was the journey.
I learned something.
Right.
Well, like what you said there, and sometimes it's maybe being careful of differentiating between a goal and a target. So with a target, you're pulling your bow back and you're aiming for the bullseye, and sometimes you might get just to the right of it, right?
Yes.
And so then, are you still going to be okay with that?
Yes. Right.
And like how we tend to do when we do the work, we start to do the personal development work, and it's always like, you may not get exactly what you want, but it's going to get close enough. And
Right.
are you going to be content and happy enough with
Well,
that?
and that brings up an interesting question, especially you guys who are working with entrepreneurs specifically, or a lot probably. For me, that's how I am. I set this goal and then I go after it as hard as I possibly can. And it's inevitable. You don't hit the bullseye perfect. It's somewhere over here.
not a straight line.
Whatever. Right.
No.
But for me, I'm always like, so close, and like I get down on myself about it. So do you guys see that a lot with entrepreneurs? How do healthy entrepreneurs that you've seen, bring that contentment into their life, even knowing that they didn't hit their goals?
I think it's a shared characteristic of all entrepreneurs. We're
Good
over-
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
The ones that are out of business.
Exactly.
They get
Those that are
frustrated.
in business and growing.
Yeah.
Right.
We're driven. We're ambitious. We want to. We're overachievers, and we are so hard on ourselves. Nobody could be harder on us. I'm sure y'all run into it all the time. And it's, well, I come back to gratitude. And there's scientific studies about this or around this. When you're in a state of gratitude, it actually calms the entrepreneur's brain. There's, like I said, a lot of studies, because you know how our brains are, shiny object squirrel. And when you're in that calm, you're less, there's less of a tendency to be really hard on ourselves and to judge ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Can you repeat the question again? I totally forgot. Yeah.
I probably got off course.
No,
That was my goal,
the question was, entrepreneurs. What have you seen in entrepreneurs that you've worked with that are handling this idea of like, there's my goal and I missed, and they're handling it well and keeping contentment and happiness in their life at the same time?
It's definitely, so gratitude for sure. That you covered it beautifully. And it's also what I said before, that, and this is a quote, I think by Earl Nightingale or someone really old personal development teacher. He said that success is the progression toward a worthy ideal or worthy goal. And so the entrepreneurs that really make it, that really still keep the contentment, they're focused on the progress, not on the achievement. Because the progress will move forward, and they may not hit that goal that month or that year, but sure enough, if they continue, they're going to reach that goal and beyond. Because they were focused on the progress, not on the time frame. Because we never know exactly like the gestation period of our dream. We know the gestation period of a baby for humans, but that's 9 months or roughly. But for our dream, for what we want to achieve, our goals, we have no idea. We can estimate that, but it may be shorter even. And sometimes, I mean, we probably all experience this, like we actually set a goal and it's actually a little bit too low. And it's like we hit that and it's like, wow, I could have done a lot more.
Exactly.
So it's finding that balance. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of switching gears a little bit here. Like I said, you guys all do this personal development stuff in your own way. Since you started down this path or this journey of trying to discover yourself and that kind of thing. Number one, how did you get started down that path? And what's been the biggest benefit in your life as you've progressed through this journey?
Wow, that's a big question.
Right?
I know
you have 15 seconds.
He's got a great story.
His
his journey is wonderful.
I went to school to get my doctorate in pharmacy. I'd never intended to be a coach or go into personal development or anything like that. So I stumbled upon it really. I got into network marketing at age 19 and I thought it was amazing because they had this like healthy energy drink. I was all for it. And it was like a couple months in, and someone I friended on Facebook who was in that business with me, she just recommended a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
That started a lot of people. There's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Exactly. Get that book. It is a textbook, and in fact, in the foreword, someone says that this book, I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but this book should be a requirement for every student to take a test on to finish high school. Not college, high school. So that's what got me started, and I was just blown away by that. And I mean, it's been now 6-7 years since that time that I read that book, and I've not stopped. And the biggest benefit I would say is loving myself, because as much as
You're so lovable.
Thank you.
So,
but I think it's very common for just in our society, in the world, for us to not love ourselves because we look outside of ourselves for approval and appreciation, and that's normal. We grow up with these tendencies to look towards other people because we grow up looking towards our parents and or father figures, mother figures, people to learn from, and our teachers, the authorities, all that, so that we look outside of ourselves, and we're never actually taught to love ourselves. And that's been the one greatest benefit, and everything that I've had success-wise has come out of that self-love.
Right.
So it's for me.
My journey was different. I didn't know this until much later in life, but my mother always said, and this is to your point, never compare yourself to anyone else, because you're always going to find somebody in a better place or a better condition, and you're going to find somebody in a worse place or worse condition, and you're still there. So why do that? I think that's one of the downsides of Facebook, because everybody is having a perfect life on Facebook, and that just ain't so. We know that. So that eliminating the comparison just in and of itself is really important. It goes back to happiness and contentment, mostly contentment. My self-growth came out of my mother's death, because she died when I was 15, and that's I don't know what age, what's around that age, but that's an important age for something like that to happen. And my first book that I read was Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In fact, I give it to my clients as it is now, and I make them read it, and
Nice.
I test them on
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
So you should have been a high school
So
teacher.
I should have been a high
Yeah.
So, a lot of good can come out of a tragedy, yeah, because she was 41 when she died, and
wow.
yeah, and then it just went from there. I was introduced to Tony Robbins in my 20s or 30s, and learned about NLP and that kind of thing, and it just kept going. It takes on a life of itself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and one thing will just lead to another naturally, and then you start surrounding yourself with all of the same people.
Right, just like this.
Just like
Yeah.
this,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
We're
mean,
all
that's-
sitting here nodding our
that's-
heads
that's-
continually.
That's
yeah.
such a huge component that we don't necessarily need to go down that path, but surrounding yourself by
Yes.
people is huge,
Yeah.
huge. That enlighten you and inspire you, and that are at a place that you're like, oh, I want to go do that.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are kind of driving you forward. Like, you need to be around people that are all kind of working together to make the life
Takes a
better.
village.
Exactly.
Yes, with
Would you guys
everything.
like to
With
share?
everything.
Yeah, I'll share. So my journey started at 13. I was battling depression, anxiety, starting at that age, and I found myself going through life finding not really meaningful relationships, intimacy really. So I'd get into relationships. I'd be really good from the start, and then it would hit a brick wall, and I found myself that I couldn't get past a certain point of really opening up and being vulnerable, and it was frustrating. For me, it was something that was off. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought that I was broken. How
where
could
our
I
head
not?
always goes, right?
Yeah, so it was just this trauma. So it took a couple harsh breakups for me to finally realize I needed to get help and to go talk to somebody, And so I went through going to therapy. Found an awesome therapist who completely shifted my life and view on life. And I went to men's work. I joined men's circles. And then I went into some seminar work, SI seminars, which really kind of transformed my life. So it really was, and kind of to what you were saying, it was finding self-love. Something that I didn't really understand, and I thought that was kind of hoo-ha type of okay, I'm gonna love myself.
Yeah.
But sadly enough, what I found out it was this part where it was this self-loathing for most of my life, and then it was not only did I not like myself, I found I hated myself, which is pretty strong, and I could see how this transcends to so many things in our culture, where you see suicide, you see a lot of mass killings and so on and so forth, and that's out of hate. And so for me, it was just I got to shift, I got to do something different, and so my path really became this journey of self-love, and how do I find compassion for myself, and also how can I take that self-love, have that overflowing to my clients, also finding that compassion so that I can help others heal on their journey as well.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is. Well, I would say when I was really young, I feel like I was probably maybe 11 or 12. I started writing poetry. I would go outside, and I was really connected with nature, and I would just start writing. And it was really about internal things that I was going through. And then I, around 15, had an eating disorder. And it was so hard because I knew that I needed help. And oftentimes people who are struggling with an eating disorder don't want help. But I came to my parents and I said, I know that I'm struggling. I need to get help. So they put me into nutritional therapy, and that was the beginning of my own process. And then over time, that was a very difficult time because I was a teenager and doing my own work. I didn't really like it very much. And yet I still had this inward hunger for a deeper, transcendent life. I tend to have a really deep perspective on things, but that wasn't really valued. I didn't feel like it was really valued, and so I kind of just put it away, shelved it for a little while.
Valued by others? Or
Yes.
Okay.
And
Don't
so
compare yourself to others.
it's true. And so I went and went to school and I got my teaching degree, met you, and became a teacher, and it just wasn't my passion. Like, I just was like, I don't know what I want to do. Long story short, I took a year off from work and kind of tried to figure some things out. And I had friends that kept saying, you know, you would be a really good therapist. Maybe you should do that. And I was like, yeah, you know, maybe I should. And throughout the course of going back to school, I put myself back into therapy, and that was when everything opened up for me. And I began to really explore different kinds of spiritualities. So I was putting myself into shamanic classes. I was discovering different Native American traditions, pagan traditions, and what happened is, as I grew my practice, all of these different outlooks and spiritualities I began to really connect with, and that's really where my practice and the somatic work began for me. And it's what it's done for me, because I struggled with an eating disorder, and that was very much symptomatic of the different ways that my family from generations beyond operated. And so I unpacked all of that and then made a vow to myself that I would be breaking all of those and starting anew in the way that I work with my family and my children and the people that I connect with. And so it's been a huge gift, to be honest, to have the eating disorder, because it's allowed me, like the death of your mom.
There are gifts. Yeah,
They're
there's
total
gifts in
gifts.
those valleys.
But if we can't, going back to the contentment, if we are I'm grateful. If I wasn't grateful, I wouldn't have that gift. I wouldn't see it. And like I said, the darkness would be more than the light.
One of the things I noticed, because I went into therapy too, and I thought I was going into, I went into therapy because I was journaling, and I one night I was writing, I went, God, that sounds familiar. And I flipped back in my journal, and I was writing the identical thing that I'd written like 2 months before.
Oh, really?
And I started reading, and I went, oh, my journal's going like this.
That's so interesting.
Yes, and I think that's happened to other people too. So I immediately found a therapist. And the interesting thing about therapy is we go in thinking that this is the problem, and it turns out being
way over there.
completely different.
Right.
It was like, whoa!
How have I not seen this before?
Yes,
You know? And that's why I wanted everybody to share their story, because stories are powerful, you know. And I have my own journey, and I'm shooting a solo
Oh, we don't
video.
care about you.
Perfect. That's a wrap. But you know, I'm doing a video that's just like my story and kind of how I got started down this path. So I won't go into that now, but. You know, I think it's just important for people to hear other people's stories, you know, because we all, for all intents and purposes, we all kind of go through the same experience. We get kicked in the teeth.
Yeah.
And how are you going to respond to it? You know, are you going to get up and go do something about it and see it as a gift and grow? Or are you going to hang your head and, you know, wallow in self-pity and go into the pit of despair, you know? Dun, dun, dun. All right. So, last question. Is this achievable? Is happiness and contentment, like true happiness and contentment, like you see those people that always have a smile on their face? Are they happy? Are they content? Are they putting on a mask? Is it achievable, or is it a fool's errand, you know, that we're after here?
I believe it's completely achievable for every single person on this entire planet.
Me too.
Because we all have the same capacity of mind, of heart, and awareness. And we capacity is what I'm saying. Not actually like discovering that. That's a whole nother question. But the possibility, it's there. But I don't. That's a whole nother conversation of if that's going to happen.
If you're going to go
And how it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And what that looks like for every person.
Yeah, but definitely.
But I think a takeaway here for your audience, our audience, is I think we all agree starting with gratitude, because that's the beginning of the journey. Yeah, and we all have our journeys, and of course they go like this and around. I mean, but that's the beginning. Yeah, and it is, yes, contentment especially. Happiness is easier, I think.
Happiness is easier because you can go to the store and buy something.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can buy your happiness.
You can buy your happiness.
You can, and then it goes away, and you have to buy something else. But yeah, contentment is definitely achievable.
Yeah, Okay, any other thoughts on whether it's achievable?
I do think that happiness is achievable.
Contentment or happiness?
Well, contentment and happiness, I guess,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah. Well, again, for me, it's about fulfillment.
Oh, okay.
So fulfillment equals happiness and contentment for me. So it's like whether it's short term or long term. So fulfillment for me is to know thyself. And so that's where it kind of comes full circle into what we're talking about as personal development. So whatever journey that we're on, we have to choose that journey and choose to own that. And I think if we can choose to own our own path, and again, not comparing ourselves to others, connecting with our purpose, connecting with our essence of who we are and what we're here to do, that for me would find that fulfillment.
Yeah.
And then that can
Yeah.
trickle over into contentment and happiness.
Absolutely. So, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. This has been a great discussion. We could sit here for a couple hours and talk about this
days.
stuff
Yeah.
easily,
Yeah.
easily. But we will definitely do it again. Before we wrap everything up, is there any final thoughts from anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to just add quickly about what I said because I know and because I'm aware of my own energy that I was so convicted and decided like it's possible, like it's definite 100%. And the reason why, just as a final closing thought for myself, is that there's a guiding life force in all of the universe, that this is here for a reason. Like the universe doesn't exist just because like, well, we'll see what happens. There's a purpose, and there are laws that we can abide by. Like we know this with the law of gravity, the law of electricity, things like that. So there are laws of success, laws of happiness, laws that we can abide by, and when we do, then it's inevitable, I like to say. And so it's just a matter of learning those laws and then working with them.
Yeah.
So it's possible, you just got to find the right information.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for joining me and having this discussion today. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you to everybody that took the time to watch this. Hopefully you learned a few things. I know I did. Looking forward to the next one. This is Roundtable.